and then it's all the way up like this. Then all the way up. Hello. Hello and welcome everyone to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Monday night stream. I, of course, am Warren. And yeah, that's it. We're done with Christmas. You just dust it off, and that's it. We're done. Ow. Hi. Christmas is a thing of the past now. Now we have to move on with real life. It's not really real, you know. I don't know if a lot of you are like me, but it takes me a little while before I fully get out of the Christmas spirit. I'm joking, you know. Real life stinks, but it takes me like a full week before I'm like, yeah, okay, Christmas is officially over, you know, kind of thing. Just let the good times roll. That's all you got to do. That's all you can do. Got a super chat straight out the gate by Caleb Hawkeye. Nice to see you, Caleb. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Asking me what I think of World's End on a show where you tell me what you thought of it feels very pretentious, Mr. Warren Hayes. Much love, buddy. Thank you very much for the super. But I mean, you know, that's kind of my brand, right? Yeah, disguising the pretentiousness behind a veil of camaraderie. It's some massive Jedi mind trick stuff, let me tell you. I appreciate you exposing me in a super chat. Thank you so much. It's nice to have you. Welcome everyone to the big Monday night stream. Joking aside, I hope you had a lovely Christmas. Hope you enjoyed it in whatever way you typically do, whatever floats your boat, whatever tickles your fancy, with whomever you want to spend the time with. I hope you did. If it was just like another Thursday for you, I hope you enjoyed it. Look, the point is that I hope you had a nice time. I hope everyone's having or still having perhaps even a good time. Who knows? The shadow knows. But I'm yeah. I had a lovely Christmas day. That's typically where the thing goes down. Cook the turkey. I don't even remember. I took a nice picture of the turkey, and I took a picture of the turkey, and I don't even remember if I posted it or anything, because I thought my turkey turned out real nice this year. Again, pretentiousness behind a veil of camaraderie. See how it goes? But it turned out great, and it got great reviews from the assembled guests as well. And then I was talking with my oldest son, and he was like, "Hey, you know what we should do next time? Like next time we have a big get together, right? Instead of a turkey, right?" Oh, so I did post it. Thank you. Okay, good. And it was like, and he was telling me, you know what we should do next time? And I'm like, what should we do? Like, we should do a ribeye. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. And a whole different type of challenge too. I'm like, cause, quite frankly, and this is like, you know, there is no pretentiousness near here. This is just a fact. I've completely mastered the art of cooking a turkey. Like, I think I don't think it holds any more secrets to me. And I mean, cooking it in an oven, right? Like, you know, not necessarily like deep frying it, which is something I will not do. So I'm like, oh, the ribeye. Oh, okay. Now there's a level of of excitement, of danger. I'm putting myself out there and maybe failing. I just might, because I've never done it. Like, oh, that actually might be really interesting. So the next big get together might start looking out for a big slab of ribeye. I'm already hungry. And I just ate. I had soup. I made soup. I made some delicious soup. Potato and carrot soup, pureed. You had some cheddar cheese in there. Well, vegetables, of course. But you do your mirepoix and all of that stuff. You're making a soup. Yeah, you make your soup base, and then you add in some cheddar cheese on top of that. Splash of cream. Yum. So there. That's it. That's all I got. Hope you had lovely gifts too. Just hope the holidays were. I just hope the holidays were on the level of your expectations. How about that? And thank you very much for joining me then, especially since the holiday season is not over. I'm very happy to see Meggie O'Kenna being here. Nice to see you, Meggie, also member of the channel. It is a pleasure to have you. I appreciate your appreciation of my double use of parentheses. I am an English major after all. Sports and Things Shows, Carlos, nice to see you and welcome. My hat makes you sad for the first time. Zero LIJ merch. Look, the only reason I got this is because a pal went to one of the earliest New Japan of America shows before it was a strong show, I think. When they were still billing it as New Japan of America. And he was like, is there any merch you'd like? And I'm like, brother, if you could get me an LIJ hat, that'd be rad as hell. And he got me an LIJ hat. And we tried to get a Daryl for Kristen, but the Daryls were all sold out. Such is life. DJ Convoy, nice to see you, man. Welcome to the chat, member of the Mr. WarrenHayes Show channel. That knowing, look at the screen. Patrick, nice to see you as well. Also member of the channel, Slow News Day. Am I right? Oh, we have so little to talk about. Gee Willikers, I wonder whatever we can talk about. Will Davis, nice to see you too. Also member of the channel and welcome to the chat as well. Zach McGibbon. Also, nice to see you. Fellow Canuck. Miss Convoy, nice to see you as well and welcome. If you're done with Christmas, get rid of Semaphore Santa and the tree too. All right. Here. Bah humbug to you too, Miss Convoy. If you make a Christmas turkey and you don't post it for content, the turkey truly ever exists. Exactly. One thing I have been wanting to do is a Christmas goose, and it's kind of like been a meme in my family, at least with my kids for a while, doing a Christmas goose. But I'm kind of a coward. I'm very cowardly when it comes to that because I've never done it. No one around me has ever done one, so no one can so no one can back me up and give me advice. And any Christmas goose is significantly more expensive than a turkey. So it's like if I fuck it up, I'm going to be kind of mad. If I fuck it up and we have to have pizza, let's say I fuck up a turkey and we have to have pizza for Christmas Day. It's like, that's all right. That's, it sucks, but okay. Next year, but if I fuck up a Christmas goose, I'm like, that one hurts a little more because they're substantially more expensive than turkeys. Nonetheless, I would love to do a Christmas goose. But I think I'm going to go with the ribeye first. And not necessarily for Christmas. Maybe for Easter, eat eat some medium rare meat for Easter, just like Christ did on the cross, right? Didn't he? Tonight is the night we go full blasphemy, by the way. Just saying. You can't go wrong with mirepoix. So when you write it like that, it looks like a Pokemon name. Mirepoix, I choose you. And for all I know at this point, there might actually be a Pokemon named Mirepoix. My knowledge of Pokemon is very solid when it comes to the first 150. And then I get lost in the generations because there's just too much, and I sort of tapped out, but sort of kept abreast because both my kids were into Pokemon, because Pokemon is the greatest kids franchise of all time, right? And so I kind of like always have a hand in it, but like there's a lot of Pokemon that I don't even know exist. There's a lot of Pokemon that I'm able to say, oh yeah, like that's that's a Chimchar, that's a Turtwig, that's a Piplup, but I'm not able to tell you what generation they're from. I couldn't tell you from what games they're from. Thanks. You're welcome, Scrooge McConvoy. No soup Pokemon yet, but there's a matcha Pokemon. Of course there is. You mean that like there's not even like a noodle ramen Pokemon? That I'm kind of surprised. I'd feel like that one would be a really popular Pokemon. That would sell really well. I'm not trying to be stereotypical. Just people really like the ramen. Some people really like the ramen, aesthetic. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. But here's okay. And I was having a discussion with my youngest in this regard recently. Okay, like the Pokemon that look like objects. All right. I don't understand how these function, because I understand that. Okay, first of all, in the Pokemon universe, there's no animals. There's Pokemon. Instead of having animals, you have Pokemon, right? And all Pokemon are born from eggs, aside from a couple of exceptions, right? But Pokemon come from eggs, okay? Now, let's say you have a Pokemon that looks like Gears, right? I don't remember the name of that Pokemon, right? But there's a Pokemon that is actually like fucking gears, okay? Like two gears interlocking. How does that happen? How does an animal become an object, like an actual like item that humans construct, and in this case, like a tool? Like how does that work? That makes like, and he of course didn't have an answer for that, because there's no real answer, because because that's something, I think it's something where you just have to suspend your disbelief. It's like Irish whips and wrestling, it's just like, well, but somehow, you've got the Pokemon that exists out there in the natural world, and they're shaped like gears. And you're like, okay. So what came first then ultimately? Is it the gear Pokemon, or is it people who made the gears? Or did the people make the gears out after getting inspired from seeing the gear Pokemons in the wild? See, it starts opening up a whole bunch of questions. You're pretty sure that's one of the non-egg ones? Look, I just used that one as an off-the-cuff example. But I'm trying to think. Well, okay, look, there's one that looks like that's a candle. There's one that's a candle, right? So again, like, what came first, the candle or the Pokemon shaped like a candle? And if they're basing themselves off of human objects, You know, where's the rake Pokemon? Where is the isn't there one that's a cell phone or like a tablet? Isn't there one that's a tablet? Like, you see, like it'll never, it doesn't make sense, but I get it. You have to suspend your disbelief on that. That's kind of the thing. Litwick, is that the one? Okay, so see, so I'm not making this up. There is a Pokemon that looks like a candle, and then you're like, then see these metaphysical questions kick in when you start to put thought into it, and you really don't have to. Quite frankly, you need to put thought into better things in your life. If anything, you know, Warren Hayes is here to think of these things for you. You know, like okay, and I had an argument with my youngest in regards to this. We mentioned Squirtle here, right? Okay, so the name Squirtle exists because it's a play on words of turtle. We all agree on this, correct? We all agree that Squirtle is a play on word of turtle, right? But there are no turtles in the Pokemon universe. So how did they end up naming Squirtle Turtle as the Squirtle as a play on words of turtle if they have never seen a turtle? And on top of that, why is the Pokemon in its language, the Squirtle always says Squirtle, Squirtle? Why is it saying that? Did it give itself the name, or did someone else give it the name? And why, if it gave itself the own name, did it give itself a play on words name off of an animal that doesn't even exist in the world, so the Squirtle itself has never seen it? You see, there's a lot of huge holes in this Pokemon thing. Warren, it's just, you know, it's something that's for children. Fuck you, imaginary person who I'm arguing with. Second time today that happens, that I argue with someone in my imagination. I made a little pixel Squirtle guy for my desk when I was into making pixel bead things. Those are cool. My youngest used to do that too. He did one of the character Sans from Undertale, and it's one then that you use a hairdryer on to sort of melt it into place. That was pretty cool. The Irish whip of the Pokemon world. Yeah, you know. I mean, how does Ramen Man work in Kinnikuman? I mean, look, and that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other universe, and you can still apply. Anyway, we can go down some really massive rabbit holes here. The wrestling podcaster breaking down the Pokemon kayfabe. Look, as most wrestling podcasters will say, I will apply this same sentiment to the Pokemon world. Okay, you ready? Make it make sense. That's all. That's all I ask. Just make it make sense. Oh boy. So that's the vibe we're on tonight. You see, I even put on a shirt. I even put on something with a collar to come see you people tonight. That's right, you people. To be perfectly honest, I've been in my pajamas all day. Like, I've been in my pajamas all day. I'm just like, you know, I'm all business up top, but it's party at the bottom. Let's put it that way, as it usually is. Anyway, thank you everyone for showing up tonight. If you haven't already, consider leaving a like on the stream. That would be really rad. That would be so cool of you. It'd be so great if you did that. It'd be so awesome. please. And yeah, and okay. So what does the schedule look like this week? Because I didn't do a Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast last week, right? Just as I suspected, just it failed to come together for multiple reasons. It's fine. However, I did end up doing the Dynamite review last week. Here's a little behind the scenes. I did it twice. I did it twice because I recorded the entire Dynamite review from top to bottom, and I didn't realize that I had filmed the review in slow motion. Okay. So when I'm transferring the video over to from my phone to my computer, I'm like, why is the file size so big? Why is it saying I have a 2-hour video, 2-hour plus video? And then I open it up and I realize everything is in slow motion. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, that sucks. But then I'm like, well, when I speed it up, the audio will be okay as well. But the audio really wasn't. Like it sounded extremely phony. It didn't work. So I recorded it a second time. So out there in the world, there is two versions of this past week's Dynamite review, the go home show for World's End. So that was a lot of work for nothing. And then of course I recorded as well my review of AEW World's End, which is available right now for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel only, though, for just the members, only the members. If you're not a member, you can't see it yet. It'll be available for all you freeloaders sooner than later. But right now, the review is available. If you're a member, then become a member. That's fun. That's sweet. That's nice to show a little support for your boy Warren, and you get early access to a lot of stuff that I do. Like you'll probably be getting early access to my Stardom Dream Queendom review, which I dutifully watched earlier today. Got to go get around to recording it probably tomorrow at some point. So that'll be available in early access as well. Warren, what did you think about Dream Queendom? Good show, but I felt underdelivered, and those are those are the cliff notes, the high level macro, and for the rest, well, you'll have to join in on the review as a member of the channel, or again, you can wait for people to you can wait till it becomes free too. Entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you. So that's it. So Mr. Warren Hayes Show will be back this week on Wednesday, and I will very likely be streaming Thursday, but I don't know yet if in fact, no, there will not be a Dynamite review on Thursday. It will be delayed. Because I will not be watching Dynamite on Wednesday. I will catch up with it, but just not live on Wednesday because it's the 31st. I'm doing something else. It's just as simple as that. But there will be a Dynamite review. It will just be slightly delayed. There you go. So that's it. That's the long and short of it. That's what we've got going here right now. And also we have Kristen Ashley who's joining us. Very nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. She also happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, so that is tremendous as well. Hikaru, nice to see you as well. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel. Have we talked about the breaking news of today? We haven't talked about any news, but what is the breaking news of the day? Is it the WWE stuff with the with the stuff, the WWE stuff? Because I haven't seen any other breaking news. DGMC, nice to see you and welcome. Also a member of the channel. A lot of Vince DMs got published. DMs from what? Is it from the lawsuit, like the shareholder lawsuit, or DMs from? Yeah. Yes, I know about that. Yes. And no, we haven't talked about that yet. We're going to get to it. How long before Warren plays Pokemon Smash or Pass on stream? No, see, that's just disgusting. You shouldn't say things like that. You just shouldn't say things like that. Oh, I guess we'll get rid of the lights too. There we go. It's not Christmas anymore. There we are. Feels kind of nude now. Speaking of nude, he's just because he's in a locker room. It's Jacques Moliere, and he has something to share.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Hoo-yah! Jacques Moliere is the closest thing I have to the mascot. And he has no idea. Like, he has no clue that he's such an integral part of the fabric of the MrWarrenHayes show and its operations. He legitimately has no idea. And I mean, that's a good and a bad thing. Especially since he's probably... Is he gone on vacation to Disney World with his family? Did he do that? I think so, right? Wasn't it over the holidays or something? Anyway. What happens first, Jacques, on the show or Warren on the hump? Well, place your bets, folks. I don't know what the odds are because I'm not a betting man. I heard Jacques is partial to water type and fighting Pokemon. His favorites are Vaporeon and Hitmonchan. Sounds about right. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you and welcome to the chat as well, my friend. It is nice to see you. This is our docket for tonight. Before we get into crunchy news bits, I want to share something with you. I don't know if anyone saw this. I don't know how much this was shared around, but I did get like this was shared in one of our group chats, and it's Mark Miro last week who shared. This is okay. Well, I'll read the caption. It'll be much easier. On September 17, 1995, Johnny B. Bad, that's him, of course. That was his old WCW name. Faced Brian Pillman at WCW Fall Brawl. Brian and I had wrestled many times before, but we never really clicked. We weren't friends, just two professionals doing our jobs. That night changed everything. We were given 30 minutes in the opening match, which was almost unheard of. Knowing how important that opportunity was, we went to the WCW power plant, worked through every detail, and actually wrote the match out together. So basically, he decided to go ahead here and share the script of the match, right? And you as I have heard multiple times about wrestlers planning out, their matches. Randy Savage was famous for doing that. Ricky Steamboat, Diamond Dallas Page, like these are wrestlers that were renowned to not be comfortable with calling it in the ring, which is something like that. That would be the Ric Flair special. Ric Flair would be like, "Don't worry, pal, just follow my lead," type of thing. We'll just call it as we go. But there's a lot of wrestlers who sat down and were like, okay, let's plan this out. Now, I would assume that like me, okay? When you hear about pro wrestlers sitting down to plan their match, you're thinking, okay, well, they're sitting down and they're preparing like the big spots, like the key moments, maybe a couple of filler spots, but there's going to be some room for interpretation, right? There'll be some room for things to just happen spontaneously, I guess. And then I see this. And I am completely floored. Let's read a few lines here, okay? Let's read a few things here. Fall Brawl match, right? Page 1. First 15 minutes. 1. Lock up, roll around, clean break. 2. Lock up again. I give Brian a quick arm drag. 3. Lock up arm exchanges. I have Brian in a hammerlock. He hip tosses me. 4. Lock up Brian. Takes me over. Come up. Throw Brian in, and throw Brian in. He gives me a tackle. Drop down. Leapfrog as I turn around. Brian throws me off. I forward roll. He leapfrogs me. We both go for drop kicks. I'm already exhausted. 5. Lock up exchange. Lock up. Exchange arm whips. I'm sorry if I start, but because there's very little punctuation that makes sense. Lock up. Exchange arm whips. I do a forward roll, kip up arm drag Brian. Go back to the arm. Hammerlock Brian. He kicks his feet up and snap mares me over. Work a hold. 6. Brian has my arm. Shoots me off. I go for a clothesline. Do the do-si-do. 7. Brian head mares me over. Hit the ropes. I trip him. Spin through the arm. Oklahoma roll. Back to a hold. And this goes on. Like, we are not going to read all of this, okay? Because this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, well, there's photographs, right? But the script is so fucking long. There's 36 bullet points to this. I'm reading this and I'm like, this cannot be simpler than calling it in the ring. This cannot be simpler. But look, apparently it worked out because, Mark Miro says that evening Brian and I became friends and it turned into one of the best matches I ever had. I mean, good for him. But this is bonkers. It just goes on and on and on. And the level of minutia in these bullet points, lock up, roll around, clean break. Do you really need to, do you need the roll around? Lock up again. I give Brian a quick arm drag. That's fine. Lock up arm exchanges. I have Brian in a hammerlock. He hip tosses me. Okay. But then everything, this sequence here at number 4, all put together. Takes me over, come up, I throw Brian. He gives me a tackle. I drop down, leapfrog as I turn. I'm like, oh my God. It gives me an entirely different perspective as to when they, I've heard, and probably you have so many times about, Randy Savage planning everything meticulously to the point that he'd annoy the boys because he'd be so particular on details and whatnot. I mean, if this is like the level of detail that went into these prepared scripted things, right? It's just nuts. It's literally insane. And I swear, I look at that and I'm like, no, it can't. This cannot be like. It seems like too much work. Just call it in the ring. just call it as you go, because this sounds fucking exhausting. Learning all of this, like just sitting down to put it all together, and then learning it. Look, regardless how I feel about it, I think it's fascinating, and I love that Mark Miro was able or decided. I don't think he had to ask for any permissions, right? I think it's amazing that he was just like, hey, you know what? Fans would like to see this, I'm sure. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, fans would like to see this. I don't even know why. I didn't even know I didn't like this. There you go. Like, I think this is tremendous. Like, this is a great, like, little peek behind the scenes at stuff where you're like, that you really never ever get to see. Now, like I said, the question is, you know, is this the exception and not the rule? Like, is it like most of the time, you know, that when matches are planned out, they're planned out, but not with as much detail, because it almost seems like too much, you know? Hard to say. Like we'd have to look at some Randy Savage scripts if they even exist, you know, or some DDP. I don't know. It's fascinating. I thought this. I just wanted to share this with you all. I thought this was some interesting lore. Okay, one more thing before we get into the big news. Friends, look, I'm going to. We have to kill the bit, okay? Maya World and Hyan have been signed to AEW, so officially we have to kill the bit. I can't continue. I can't continue, you know, making fun of. I can't continue making fun of the poor decision making of Nixon Newell and Miranda Alizé. That's it. We can't do it anymore. The bid is dead. It's officially in the ground. Hyan and Maya World were signed. Khan, and we're going to read really quickly this article here, but I'm sure you've seen the thing. This is on the Figure 4 Online, The Observer. Khan announced Hyan and World signing following their loss to the Sisters of Sin, Julia Hart and Sky Blue on the AEW World's End 0 Hour show. He addressed their signing again at the post-event press conference. Khan said, "I think they've been doing a fantastic job." Hyan and Maya World came in. They delivered time after time. Yeah, like they've showed up and did what they're told. Maybe one last hurrah for the bit, like one more time. We can do it one more time. They've been putting on great matches. They've been getting, well, I mean, you know, they've mostly been squashes, but you know, look, Tony's in promoter mode. It's fine. He's putting them over. Let's put them over. We're putting them over. It's a good thing. They've been putting on great matches. They've been getting more and more competitive. Everybody in the locker room really respects them. They bring something great to the roster. We've been having great women's tag team matches and having more and more strong wrestlers on the roster for singles and tag teams because they are both great individual wrestlers too. Every experience I've had with both of them individually and as a team has been positive, no doubt. They had another great match on the 0 Hour. So I think this is tremendous. Look, okay, it's tremendous news. You know, jokes aside, memes aside, it's tremendous news. I think I talked about it a little bit on the. It was on the review, on the World's End review. I did talk about it. So I might echo a few points really quickly here, but these are two solid signings. Hyan has been wrestling for such a long time and has always been a wrestler that I've enjoyed. I think she's solid. I think she's a very good worker. I've always wondered why she had never been picked up. why she's never been signed to WWE, to AEW when AEW started off. To me, she always kind of felt like a natural for AEW, where it's like, yeah, let's just go, seasoned indie women's star that, and I never quite got it. I never really understood what the issue was. And then sometimes, you have this idea, well, not just an idea, but sometimes when a wrestler has been around long enough on the independents and is very good and is very, very talented at what they do, but they never get signed, then there's usually a reason that is very personal to the wrestler to explain why they don't get picked up. It could be, it can be as simple as family issues, personal issues, or it could be just like, well, they're the shits, like they're not good people, or they're just terrible people to work with, and you just, they have bad attitude. Like, it could be a bunch of things, right? So I'm starting to think, oh, well, the issue, how could High-End be the issue? I know this is something that getting a big, getting a signed, getting a deal is something that she has been gunning for a very fucking long time. I've only always heard very nice things about High-End. I hear she's a very nice person. I don't know why it took her so long, is basically my point. Is that I don't know what took her so long, because I have never heard anything negative about High-End. Now there might be things, there might be just like it might be a personal situation, might be her as well, saying, you know what, I don't want to blow my spot just yet, because some people get signed too early and it doesn't turn out well. And maybe she's like, no, you know what, I'm gonna wait till the time is right and get signed, whatever. Couldn't tell you. And Maya World, she's still very green at this. She's still very much a rookie. She's like, what, 2-3 years tops at this, right? Like tops. Doesn't necessarily have a baggage of matches, but in her belt yet. But everyone seems to agree that there's something there, that there is potential. She's someone that we might actually get a chance to see grow on television. I like her. Every time I've seen her, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I've never been like, not this person again type of thing. No, I like, it'll be very interesting to see what her career trajectory looks like now moving forward. But, as far as getting a prospect, someone who I think you can invest in developing and making your own, I think she's a great pickup. I don't have any issues, and look, like she's solid. Like, she's solid. She's, again, the experience might not be there, but AEW historically has picked up women in the past who have had very little experience, and nonetheless, have been hired and put on television and so on and so forth. And some choices that they have made in the past have been worse than Maya World. So look, from the surface, from the top level, like, from not even surface, like, from the analytical part of it, I'm very happy for both of them. And I think this is in both cases, this is a good pickup for AEW, right? Doesn't mean they're going to be, world champions. I'm not saying that suddenly they're going to be, you have to push them to the moon or whatnot. They could very well be just like perfect mid-card wrestlers, like whatever the role they end up in, right? We'll see, but it's they're good pickups regardless. I think, both solid choices. Now, like I mentioned, if we want to, eulogize the bit. Look, I mean, we all know why this happened. We all know why. We all know why this conversation is happening right now. Why these two ladies have a job. And by the way, there's a rumor going around that they had been signed like since November to the company, and then got their graphic. But yeah, they've been signed for a few weeks now, and so that's tremendous. I don't know what kind of deal they had, but usually when you get the graphic, you're not signed to. You like it's a proper deal, not like there's tiered deals in AEW as far as our understanding goes. So it's like it's like they're clearly on one of the regular contracts if they have all of this set up for them, and that's good. But look, like, okay, so back to the bit, right? we all know why this is happening. And yeah, I mean, it goes to show you. It goes to show you. Like I said on the review, it's kind of reassuring to see that that the old ways of doing things in pro wrestling are still true today, where you show up for an opportunity and you make the most out of it, and you're starting off, you're fresh to the locker room. Well, you sort of do what you're told, say thank you very much, and you appreciate it, and you shake everyone's hand. And then eventually, then you start trying to factor yourself into bigger things, right? But not from the get-go, right? I mean, Alizé and Newell, they just shot themselves in the foot. And everyone knew that was the situation. Everyone knew that they had just absolutely took a shotgun to their feet and pulled the trigger. It was like, and no one understood the logic behind it either. No one understood the logic behind it. Just, over the course of the summer, before they started doing shots on AEW as a tag team, Nixon Newell was on podcasts saying how hard it was for her to get bookings ever since she quit WWE. She thought she'd be getting more bookings, but they're really, really sparse. And she's having a hard time. And then they start showing up on AEW, and people felt good about it because they're like, poor Nixon Newell with her blown knees and whatnot, and her lack of opportunity in WWE to do something. People were like, "Oh, this is nice. This is good." And on top of that, with their girlfriend, and there is a same-sex couple tag team in AEW that AEW sort of mentions in passing, but without like hammering it at home. And the fans get behind her. Like there was this really nice groundswell of support, and they just like blew it all away because they let their egos get into the way. And there's no other way to see it. They went on stream themselves and said, we should not be in losing squash matches because it's not good for our brand. That is an ego call right there. There's no other way to articulate it. That's exactly what that was. So they let their egos get into the way, and they lost the best opportunity they had to make good money, a steady paycheck for a few years. They just blew it all away. Because look, WWE is not welcoming Nixon Newell back. They're not, they're not going to be sitting around wondering like, well, is this the best time to bring Nixon back? No. She's damaged goods. That's the thing that sucks. That's one of the things that made it so nice that AEW was able to do. Just like, kind of look beyond that and say, hey, we can hire you. And yes, it'll be fine, and we'll have you do some things. And look, they legitimately just blew away, backhanded the only opportunity they had to be in a national promotion making good money outside of WWE. They just blew it. They completely blew it. Especially in it. especially in an environment where then Nixon Newell, I think it was on the same stream where she was saying the stream where they talked about their departure. I think she said something to the effect of that she had maybe 3-4 years left in wrestling before her body couldn't take it anymore. So you're like, well, what? Then what the hell are we doing? Then what the hell are we doing? If you have 3 years left in your mind to wrestle, do the jobs, do whatever you want. You know, pile up your cash, retire, and open a cat cafe or whatever the fuck, you know? Like that. This, by the way, every time I talk about retirement, someone retiring, is it retire and do something with your retirement? For some reason, my go-to is always open a cat cafe. And my kids can attest to this. Every time. It's like retire and open a cat cafe. Every time. And I don't know why. It's like it feels like a cat cafe is a solid retirement plan for people who once they're for folks who are done working. I couldn't open one. I'm fucking allergic to cats. It's like I could open it, but other people would staff it. I couldn't even go on premises. Anyway, but you know what I mean? It's like just take the money. Take the money then. If you're in the tail end, if physically you know you're in the tail end of the career, then stop. Stop grinding. Like, you have the opportunity. Shut up and take the money, and then peace out. That's all. And then do the cat cafe. I don't get it. Look, because of that, because of the very poor decision making, I have very little sympathy. You know, I don't feel bad, I should say, for Newell and Alizé. I really don't. Because look, you know, cue the Dolph Ziggler meme. It could have been me when she looks at this graphic here. They look at this graphic. It should have been me. And it could have been if you had just done what was required. That's all. So, you know, like I said, it's kind of nice to see that in pro wrestling, even to this day, like, these old methods still exist, and people take advantage of them and are able to better their careers when they understand what needs to be done, I guess. So I'm very happy for Hyan and Maya World in this circumstance. Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. She said she had a year left. Okay, so I thought it was like 2 or 3. I thought it was like, oh, I've got 2-3 years left, 3 or 4. She said a year. What are we doing? It's just like, swallow the pill, brother. The Quarantine, nice to see you and welcome. Personally, nothing I've seen from them in ring makes me think they're that special. They may be cleaner promos, but Hyan and Maya are better in the ring. I don't know. Are they cleaner promos? I don't know. When's the last time? I'm not saying this to challenge you, Quarantine. Like, you're just popping an idea into my mind where I'm like, when is the last time I heard, Nixon Newell cut a promo? Or, what's her name in WWE? Whatever, right? When's the last time I heard Miranda Alizé cut a promo? I don't know. Did she cut some in Ring of Honor? Because if so, I don't watch Ring of Honor. Hyan's a good promo. She'd do these great promos in DPW on Danny Luna. Danny Luna is another one. Danny Luna is another pro wrestler. And again, look, I know, like, I know what I'm about to say is actually something that super irritates me when other people do it. Okay. I understand. Okay. But Danny Luna is another pro wrestler that AEW should look into to pick up. once she becomes free. Because she works fucking hard. She can work. She's a good brawler type, which we have a couple, right? In AEW, you've got Megan Bain, who's a great brawler type, for instance. But you bring it like Danny Luna she's solid. She's a very good wrestler. She's if anything, she's the best kind of wrestler you want on your mid card, who will just who'll be a breeze to work with, will make everyone look good. You can give her a little push. You don't have to push her to the moon, to the Luna, and she'll pay dividends. Like, she's fantastic. And I know, like I said, like I know the worst thing is to go, AEW should save them all, right? But then I know I it irritates me when other people do that. So I'm irritating myself, but it's also the truth. When's the last time I've done this? Where it's like, oh, AEW should absolutely pick up this wrestler here. I say AEW just raid DPW's roster. I mean, that's the other thing that makes me glad for Hyan. Like, she was such an integral part of DPW. Now that it's, going on hiatus, or let's be real, shutting down. I'm glad that that this opportunity for her to work in AEW is happening now. Like, that's serendipitous, honestly. I want Danny Luna in AEW so badly. Her Windsor dog collar match was so incredible. She's very good. And look, you've seen the dog collar matches. I've seen the dog collar match with Alex Windsor. I've seen the dog collar match with Hyan. This is another lady who's not afraid to bleed. And AEW women hardcore matches are a thing. So she could be the specialist. She could be the one that you call for when it's time for things to really get gritty. And I don't mean the dance, nor the mascot of the Philadelphia Flyers. Danny Luna deserves more than bleeding for Indy Hartwell in a dog collar match. Yes, I agree. Who was I talking with recently that told me, like, watching Indy Hartwell wrestle is like watching Bambi take his first steps? Like, oh my God. Now I can't unsee it. something to that effect. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So just a couple of little things here that I wanted to get out of the way, so we can keep moving forward here. Let's go back to our docket, and we are going to pull up this bit of news here. That okay, so when you hear about people talking about, oh, there's no real reporting in pro wrestling, pro wrestling reporters suck, etc., etc. I would say 90% of the time that's true, and then in the 10% you get stuff like this from Brandon Thurston. This is up here on Post Wrestling, where essentially Brandon goes over all the documents that headed to discovery in the shareholder lawsuit case, the shareholders of WWE that they filed against Endeavor/TKO, and there was a bunch of documents and messages and stuff that were made accessible here, and he walked all through of it, all the messages that were there, and ended up painting a pretty clear picture here. This is the lead right here from his article, Brandon's article. When Vince McMahon announced his retirement from WWE in July 2022 amidst allegations of sexual misconduct, a top executive at Endeavor was already telling colleagues that very day that McMahon's departure would be temporary, he would return, and that a company transaction of WWE could then be imminent, forecasting the eventual merger with UFC. So this is essentially very bad. Some would actually say it's illegal. In a text message sent within hours of Vince McMahon's public statement, Mark Shapiro, then Endeavor's number 2 to Ari Emanuel and now TKO president, outlined a scenario that later unfolded with remarkable accuracy. Nick and Stephanie are going to take over the WWE for the next 9 months, Shapiro wrote, referring to Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon, who became co-CEOs that day. Vince will be back with a new board, or he will take the company private, or he will sell it / coming to us. The race is on, Shapiro added. The courtship is on. And you have the receipts right here. Text messages sent July 22nd, 2022, showing Endeavor executive Mark Shapiro expecting Vince McMahon. Oh, okay. So these are the. Sorry, this is the caption for the text messages that I just displayed on luvideo. Shapiro sent the messages to Andrew Schleimer, now the chief financial officer of TKO, and to Jason Lublin, who was Endeavor's CFO at the time. McMahon returned to WWE in January 2023. Less than 6 months later, rather than 9, he did so by reinstating himself onto the board of directors using his superior voting power as controlling shareholder. McMahon removed several directors. Some resigned, and he added 2 others beside himself. Immediately upon his return, WWE announced it was exploring quote-unquote strategic alternatives, meaning the company was for sale. 3 months after that, WWE agreed to merge with Endeavor's UFC business, creating the parent holding company now known as TKO. The 2022 text message from Shapiro is among newly disclosed records in the ongoing WWE shareholder lawsuit in Delaware Chancery Court. In that case, plaintiffs allege McMahon violated his fiduciary duties by orchestrating a sale process designed to preserve his own power rather than maximize the best deal for shareholders. The filings also show communication between McMahon and Emanuel throughout the latter part of 2022, when McMahon was ostensibly in exile and before WWE was formally put up for sale. We're not going to read the entire article that Brandon read because it wrote. You probably also read it as well, but then he essentially wrote because it goes very deep into detail, and there's a lot of accompanying proof to that. Like there's the text messages and all that, so you can really like follow Brandon's thought process very, very simply as you're going along. You can see exactly how everything intertwines and how it all makes sense ultimately. Now, what I do want to talk about is kind of like it's kind of the shifty dealings and what exactly they mean. I don't want to use the term malfeasance. There are allegations coming that are going to come out of this. Things that are going that. Well, there are already allegations made by the shareholders in their lawsuit, and a lot of things are starting to point to, oh yeah, this actually happened. Because let's not forget, McMahon came back and said that he was coming back under the guise that he wanted to find the best deal for the shareholders. That was his prime objective, and in fact, that's what the president of a board of directors or the chairman of a board of directors should do. It's his objective, and as president, is to work towards in a sale, maximizing value for the shareholders. But in this circumstance, the feeling, the allegation that is put forward by the shareholders is that McMahon was doing this just to protect himself, protect his power within the company. That's what he was fronting first and foremost before even considering what was good or not for the shareholders, right? Lying to shareholders of a publicly traded company is illegal. Exactamundo. Boris, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. So, having read the article, here's a few things that come to my mind that I think need to be highlighted. And again, like these are not facts because there's like this is just discovery. This is some of the this is the stuff that was supplied for the suit. There could be other documents coming and whatnot that will add more fuel to the fire or confirm some things. So this is all speculative right now. And all of the things I'm going to talk about here in regards to Vince McMahon and the Endeavor guys getting into some shifty business in regards to the sale of WWE. This is all very speculative. Because, okay, here's an example. There's even as Vince McMahon publicly retired in 2022 amid the sexual misconduct scrutiny, right? We know that the internal messages from the Endeavor executive showed that they expected him to return. And they were already anticipating a strategic transaction involving WWE. And we even read that little bit where Mark Shapiro's like, well, he'll either take it public or we'll sell it to us type of thing. A sale, a privatization, right? That was the other one. Or, coming in with a brand new board of directors. This suggests, right, that the retirement might have been staged rather than a genuine exit and potentially could have misled the public and investors. Again, I'm just spitballing here. There's also, as you read forward and you go deeper into it, there's documents that reveal private communication between Vince McMahon and Ari Emanuel late summer 2022, months before WWE was formally put on the market. You have Emanuel texting Vince McMahon saying, and I quote, "I will be your greatest partner." And that's a quote that's been pulled from many articles. That's been used in many articles because that could be potentially extremely damning. There's also been discussions with WWE advisors that's shown in the document here as well, all to indicate that there's a deal groundwork, right? We're talking groundwork here, but nonetheless, it could potentially indicate that a deal groundwork may have been laid before any official sale process was set up, which shareholders then would argue that undermined an open competitive bidding process. Ergo, not looking after the interests of your shareholders first and foremost. Which again is, a little illegal. Now, McMahon did return to the company in 2023, right? Like we mentioned, and you all probably remember as well, he used his controlling voting power to bring himself back in, but also restructured WWE's board, right? He removed directors, brought in allies, right? He brought back Barrios and what's the other guy? The two former WWE executives, the WWE Network people. Drawing a blank. But the point is that he'd be setting up allies. And that was immediately followed by a sale exploration announcement talking about strategic alternatives, right? So the shareholders contend in their lawsuit that this sequence was designed to secure a deal that protected McMahon's role rather than maximize value for shareholders. Because Vince wanted to come back, but wanted to make sure that in this transaction, he would be safe. Now, a major allegation is that McMahon shaped the sale terms. Like, this is a major allegation that McMahon shaped the sales terms to ensure his future position in what would eventually become TKO, even though other potential buyers may have demanded the exit. Now, I don't know if you recall this, but there had been rumors that some of the other potential suitors out there were not all that interested in WWE, knowing that Vince was around. They didn't want to deal with Vince. So you might think this is not a big deal, but it does, because it raises the concept of self-interest overriding his fiduciary duty to the shareholders. The shareholders are also pushing the court to compel McMahon and others to produce communications related to the sexual misconduct allegations and how they impacted the deal's strategy. This could get really bad, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, for Vince. And I don't care. But, you know, this was those were the reasons why Vince was pushed out in the first place. And they got only worse with the lawsuit. And that's eventually what forced him out of TKO, right? Now, McMahon has been resistant to producing the materials and the use of he's been using messaging apps with, disappearing messages and whatnot. All the fact that he's been resistant to doing this is seen as a possible attempt to conceal relevant evidence from discovery, from further discovery at the very least. And I don't know if you remember this on top of that, but Vince was in trouble with the SEC, right? The Security and Exchange Commission in the United States. He was in trouble with them because he was charged for failing to disclose 2 settlement agreements made on behalf of WWE with women alleging misconduct and for bypassing internal accounting protocols, right? Which then resulted in misreported financials. So let's not forget, these charges, these charges have been settled. He got fined. He paid the fines, or at least there's a reimbursement plan that's been set up. I don't quite remember exactly. I think it's a reimbursement plan, come to think of it, which reinforces a pattern of corporate governance failures, right? Which then, of course, the shareholders are kind of like, well, hey, you know what? The SEC action isn't directly related to the merger, but it does show a pattern where McMahon executed significant financial obligations in secret. So it's the kind of conduct that makes the shareholders question whether the sale process was legitimate. These are my takeaways from all of this. When you take it all together, everything that I brought up here, which are essentially allegations, right? Again, we got to underscore there's nothing that's been proven, and I'm just a dummy at the same time. But it's not just about a shady text message. They revolve around a potentially well orchestrated exit and return to WWE to set up the sale, including undisclosed communications, board manipulation, self-enriching deals, and stuff like that. Shareholders basically right now are arguing that the sales process of WWE to Endeavor wasn't a fair arm's length process, but one rather engineered to protect McMahon's power and interest rather than, I know I'm being redundant here, but that's the thing, rather than maximize the company's value for shareholders. And there's also the entire deal as well where TKO Endeavor created this company in order to offset this company being TKO, in order to offset some of its debt onto TKO. So Endeavor basically divests itself of a portion of debt that the TKO branch takes over, and that's beneficial for them. Like this has been one of the major reasons why they wanted this, right? So that then returning, so that when they became private again, when they privatized once again, they could, it'd just be more appealing for everyone, because Endeavor didn't look as much, didn't seem to be in trouble as much. It's a hell of a thing, man. It's really huge. Like, and it's a great story that's been put together by Brandon, and I really, really do suggest that you seek it out and you take the time to read it, get in depth, because we're not, like I said, we're not going to read through the whole thing. I'm giving you my takeaways. Maybe you will even have other takeaways, and there's other takeaways to have on top of that outside of the potential malfeasance. There's other things as well. See, there throughout this whole situation, we get a reveal here at the same time that McMahon was indeed involved with WWE creative and WrestleMania plans in 2023. So it's been noted by someone in the conversations here that McMahon had been attending more WWE events and asked Nick Khan, of course, whether McMahon had become more involved in the creative process. Khan answered definitively, no, is the answer to that. So Nick Khan in 2023, well, Brendan, I guess it was an interview, asked the question, and Khan said, no, absolutely, Vince is not involved. And we had all started hearing things, right? As turbo nerds following this stuff online, we started hearing reports that no, Vince still has his fingers in creative. He still has some say, right? He's not just like, he says that he's no longer involved in creative, but he's sending emails, he's letting people know things, he's still driving the boat creatively, right? But no one wanted that, because the idea now was to push the story that bad man gone. No, Vince is gone. It's a new era. It's not Vince anymore. Vince is no longer here. We had to move on from that, right? So that's why Nick Khan publicly is saying, no, Vince is not involved. Even though a month earlier, on February 28, 2023, McMahon texted Khan about creative, according to new court filings. McMahon wrote to Khan, relaying an interaction that presumably involved Paul Levesque, McMahon's son-in-law, and successor as head of creative, and longtime creative executive Bruce Pritchard. Text from Paul and Bruce. Hey guy, text from me being I guess Vince here in the situation. From me to Paul and Bruce. Hey guys, just double checking. Does Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes know the new creative RE WrestleMania and next year? Bruce responds, not to my knowledge. I don't know if Paul has had a conversation with either. Roman's first appearance since we spoke is Friday in DC. Both will be there in person. Me to Paul. Paul, have you? Khan responded to McMahon cryptically, writing, Langus. What in the blue hell is Langus, LOL? McMahon texted back. Read it backwards, Khan replied, likely referring to the Signal messaging app. And we have the screenshots of all that happening right there. That interaction regarding quote unquote new creative runs counter to Khan's statement a month later on CNBC that McMahon wasn't involved in the creative process. The public record doesn't show more about what new creative McMahon was referring to, or whether he had any influence in Roman Reigns' win over Cody Rhodes in the main event of that year's WrestleMania, an outcome that surprised many fans. Shareholders suing over the merger are less concerned with McMahon's involvement in WWE's creative decisions than with Khan directing discussions to Signal, which prominently features an auto-delete function. Plaintiffs allege key communications on Signal were not properly preserved, possibly circumventing special preservation measures required during mergers and acquisitions. If messages weren't properly maintained, it could weigh into the lawsuit's outcome. That's why these were added here. Because again, shareholders don't give a fuck as to whether Vince stuck his nose into the finish of WrestleMania that year. They don't care. But the fact that the CEO of the company directed Vince McMahon to go to Signal to have this conversation, that's significant. That is a terribly meaningful response. What in the blue hell is Langus will also, I think, will go down in history as well, because it's really funny. So for us, again, us turbo nerd wrestling fans, it's the demonstration that the reporting at the time was sound, that everyone's gut feeling was correct. Vince was involved. Vince was indeed involved in creative. And it's astounding that we're getting concrete proof, because look, the reporting at the time was sound. I don't know why anyone really doubted it, but the reporting at the time was super sound, and people showed up, and not people showed up, but the people who stuck up to defend it and say Vince is not involved. There's no sign of it. Blah blah blah. The source is the janitor, etc., etc. Well, they all look like fucking morons. They all looked at like fucking morons back then, and they still continue to look like fucking morons today. It's still the same type of person, and they look even worse. So anyone who was sticking their neck out there saying Vince wasn't involved in creative can go kick fucking rocks. And if I were a petty man, which I'm not, I would, go check I'd go check Raj Giri's Twitter account I'd go check that out. Hit the search button and push that back in his dumb face. Continue to show that he has a romantic relationship with WWE. But I'm not a petty man. So very, very interesting stuff to come out here. Now, if you were to ask me, what is the new creative he's talking about? And, Brandon speculated. If you were to ask me, what do you think, Warren, is the new creative he's talking about? Do you think that it is a change to the WrestleMania finish? I'd say yes, absolutely. But I would absolutely believe that the original plan for WrestleMania in 2023, I don't remember what number it was, 48, 49, I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I 100% believe that the plan was for Cody to go over 100%. And then Vince steps in and he says, no. Because why otherwise would he be asking his creative team, the top dudes, why else would he be asking them? Do Roman and Cody know the new creative for WrestleMania? Why else? Everyone was shocked by that finish. Everyone laughed at it. Everyone thought it was a terrible idea. Because everyone was expecting Roman to drop the title. Because everyone was expecting Cody to win it at the peak of his powers, which would have been the smart thing to do. And then what a fucking swerve they pulled. That all reeks of Vince. It just smells of Vince. So I have no issues believing that this new creative was Vince McMahon saying, yeah, no, brother, the new creative. No, excuse me. No, pal. The new creative is Roman retains. Incredible stuff. Paul Levesque, silent again. The greatest middle manager in the history of the business. Paul, did you do your job? Did you talk to the talent, Paul? Getting checked up on by the boss, the real boss. Fuck yeah. I love this shit. So I mean, this ultimately, this conversation. Oops, shut it down accidentally. Well, it's okay. We'll just pull it. But this text exchange that they had about the creative, that's fun for us fans, but ultimately insignificant, right? Because no one's going to go on trial because Cody Rhodes didn't win the WWE World Championship at the right time. Or the undisputed, whatever it is. But the other stuff about perhaps misleading shareholders, perhaps laying the groundwork for a deal between WWE and Endeavor before there were any announcements made, basically like setting up an entire front to say, hey, we're going to go try some stuff out, but having all the deal already set up in the back, in backroom dealings, that's a little more serious. That is illegal. So we'll have to see how this all turns out. But to be continued. But again, like, it's tremendous work from Brandon. It's tremendous work from Brandon, who you can continue to put your faith in when it comes to solid reporting of real, tip top what's the word I'm looking for? Events, like real consequential events happening in the business of pro wrestling. I highly recommend subscribing to the WrestleNomics Patreon. I've been a Patreon member for many years at this point. And you should too. It's tremendous work again. And look, I can only hope that there's more juicy bits like this that pop up, because this is great stuff. This is great stuff. On one hand, you have the idea of a conspiracy, of malfeasance, allegedly. And on the other hand, you've got, the worst people on earth that have egg all over their face when they tried to convince everyone that Vince was not involved, and everyone could see that Vince was involved, that the reports going around were saying that Vince was involved. And they're like, no, he's not involved. He's gone. They told us he's gone. Who are you going to trust now? Nick Khan? Here's the thing. Nick Khan right now looks like a complete and utter liar. He's a guy you cannot trust. Not that you could trust him before, because the guy's a shark. But publicly, whenever he says anything, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Massive grain of salt. He's going on television saying, no, Vince McMahon is not involved. 3 months after, Vince McMahon is setting up plans for WrestleMania. It's bullshit. Nick Khan, zero credibility. Complete and utter buffoon. You can't trust it is confirmed. It's not just that guy gives me the willies. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him type of thing. No, you cannot trust Nick Khan. He's a liar. That's what this ended up showing everyone. The man is just a liar. But I mean, look, he's well surrounded. Just like Paul Levesque is a liar, tries to tell us he's some creative genius. We're going to talk about him in a second. Is this another Dave was right? Well, not just Dave. Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp was right on that one as well. He had reported that Vince was back there, and I don't remember the timeline, but I know both of them. I don't know who reported on it first, but they both corroborated the stories, right? Both of them were saying essentially, they were both essentially saying the same thing ultimately. Is that, I've heard that Vince is around, that Vince is making calls. He's not there physically, but, because that's what everyone was saying. I remember this, people were saying, well, Vince is not there in Gorilla, so he's not in control of creative. These fucking people not knowing how, 21st century communications work, right? Just, oh, well, he's not there, calling the shots, so he's not in creative. Idiots, people being dumb, people being fucking dumb, and you know exactly who's being dumb. More than enough dummies in this neck of the woods. Should I finally reply to Raj Giri's email? Yes. The change was, instead of Roman going clean, Vince made it so Solo's interference does Cody and LMAO. That would be really funny. That Vince was the original proponent of Solo Sikoa as a top guy. That would actually be really funny when you think about it. Can't wait to see lawyers describing what a work is. Yeah, it's like, hey, look at the government. Anywho, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about this little situation you do. Last week, we had Tony Khan talking about how involved he is in AEW creative these days. We're going to read an article here off of the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online. Tony Khan believes. Excuse me, there we go. We're all set now. Tony Khan believes AEW storytelling became more focused in 2025 due to a change that was made to the creative process. Speaking with The Takedown on SI, at Sports Illustrated, Khan admitted that he got, quote unquote, too collaborative with AEW creative in recent years. He was allowing too many voices to contribute when coming up with the outline for the shows. That changed at the end of 2024, with Khan now putting the outlines together himself. Khan compared the change to when he took more control over creative going into 2020. Here's a quote from Tony Khan. Since you asked about the focus and some of the stories and putting the TV shows together, yeah, I definitely felt like I had a good approach that I'd refined in 2020 and trying to be good, trying to listen and be collaborative. I think I had gotten too collaborative, and it was kind of the same mistake I made at the beginning. And it really helped in the end of 2024 going into 2025. I just said, okay, I'm going to put the outline for everything together myself. I'm going to eliminate the meetings between shows, and I will put everything together myself between shows. And then I'll come in with the outline of what I want, rather than have a lot of collaborative meetings where everybody chimes in what they think we should be doing. Khan stressed that he still believes collaboration is a good thing and likes to hear ideas. He just thinks everything is more focused when only one person is putting together the outline. And when it comes to collaboration, Khan feels it's best when he and the wrestlers work together directly. There shouldn't be too many other people getting involved in that. This is another quote. I don't want to describe ever being collaborative as a bad thing, because the whole thing that makes AEW great is collaboration. But the collaboration should probably be, at its best, be between me and the wrestlers and working to find the best path and not having a lot of people in the middle of that, he said. There are tons of contributors to a wrestling show within a show that can be found in terms of character work or once the outlines is passed down, implementing that outline. But assembling the outline for the show, I've learned, doesn't necessarily need a lot of people involved. Khan has called 2025 the best year in AEW's history. The promotion has World's End 2025 coming up this weekend, and will close out the year with the December 31st episode of Dynamite. Do you think Warren Hayes has some thoughts on this? Well, gee, Willikers, golly gee, he does. Good guess, chat. So essentially, there's a part of this which isn't exactly news, which is the part where he says, I've changed things. I changed things at the end of 2024 going into 2025, and I'm going to put everything together myself. Now, the part that isn't exactly news is the part saying where he says that this all happened at the start of the new year of 2025, because he had already said that on, either a pre-show, one of these pay-per-view press calls that he does, or on a post-show. This is typically what he had already said this, that, moving forward, I'm taking control. I'm making sure that things go my way, type of thing. Because if you recall, the fall 2024 was kind of a mess for AEW creatively. Outside of the Continental Classic, everything that was going on with, the Death Riders specifically was really not great. And there were a lot of not great things going on. Very confusing, very frustrating. That's where people really started to dislike the Death Riders. And then we come back to the new year. Tony Khan says, look, now I'm more in control. I've got things going. And then you kind of felt like everything was falling slowly back on rails. And I think you can argue that the strip of creative, let's say from February 2025, easily up into All In, was some of the best, most consequential, well put together bits of storytelling. Like there's always stuff that you sort of wonder, well, why did this happen this way? This wasn't great. Like, especially like how the Hurt Syndicate and MJF came apart, right? That's one of the things where you're like, okay, this is kind of weird, right? What happened here? So I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying like it's a strip of time in AEW's history where the batting average was very, very high. They really were swinging for the fences every time, and a lot of times a lot of stuff was connecting. So we knew Tony Khan was mostly in control, right? Like he had said it himself, and he had basically blamed it on the NFL season. He had said, well, with my with my responsibilities, with the NFL and whatnot during the season, I delegate more. So there were more people, trying to put the show together. Now Tony was like, okay, fuck this shit. And he's basically saying, this is the outline of the show that I want. And we're not discussing this. We're not having meetings to see what we should put together. I'm going to give you what I want. This is what I want. And quite frankly, folks, especially those of you out there who have worked in creative environments in the past, or even right now maybe, this is how it should work. You need one person who has a singular vision of how things can go, and then divests the execution of that vision to the rest of his staff, the rest of his creatives. It's, the best analogy is director, a movie director who's got his vision for everything, but then he's got the script writers, he's got his director of photography, he's got a wardrobe, he's got everyone, right? He's got everyone, but they all have their marching orders. The staff, the talent, the actors. He has his vision, and everyone works to realize that vision. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, that's how it should go. A booker should be able to just print out an outline and say, this is what I want my show to look like. These are the notes that I want to see happen. These are the people I want to see wrestle. Figure it out. That's how it should go. So if this is his approach, well, Tony, in case you're listening, I applaud it. I think this is the best way. I think this is the best way of doing things. This is legitimately the most consequential, logical thing that you could be doing. Because if you were having these meetings, we've all often heard about the Zoom meetings where there's like 12, did I say 12? 20 people on the call. Everyone who kind of has a say, the producers or whatever you want to call them, producers, the coaches, then, the members of creative. And these were like collaborative efforts. My question was like, well, what are they collaborating on? What is all this collaboration about? And if we're listening to what Tony was saying, these collaborative meetings with 20 people were not to like develop ideas. We're not to come together to sort of to sort of put our minds together to come up with some creative ideas for other wrestlers. No, these were meetings to set up the outline of the show, how the show should go down. That's insane. You can't do that with 12 people, 20 people deciding what goes on or not on a show. That's bonkers. I don't know how that was even possible. So thank God these things have hit the bricks. Now, the thing that I want to push back a little on, Tony, is this idea here where he says, I'll reread the quote just to get the full vibe of where I want to go off from here. I don't want to describe ever being collaborative as a bad thing, because the whole thing that makes AEW great is collaboration. But the collaboration should probably at its best be between me and the wrestlers, and working to find the best path, and not having a lot of people in the middle of all of that. Now, this I have an issue with. He's talking like this system is big time problematic, when it is in fact a system, Tony, that you created by hiring producers that came from WWE, that, you know, by that and from other spots, and hiring coaches, and always hiring like people working behind the scenes, working as these producers, writers. So of course you might find yourself in a situation where where you should be working directly with the wrestlers, but instead you have to talk to a producer and whatnot. But that's your system, because you hired people to do this job. So if you want to talk directly to the wrestlers, where I agree, it's probably the best way to go about it, and you don't want to have a lot of people acting as middlemen between yourself and the wrestlers, there's a very simple solution you can take. And that is divest yourself of your producers. Divest yourselves of the Sanjays, the Pat Bucks, the Glaciers, whoever else is on that you bring on, a fucking worm guy, Scotty Too Hottie. All these people that you've picked up that all used to work for Vince. And that I have always, maybe not Glacier, but all these people who have worked for Vince as producers, which I have always considered, and you can go back, the tape is there, that I have always considered to be detriments to the show, because you're like, finally, we get a promotion where we could, when AEW was coming up, we were like, well, we can see pro wrestling that is not compounded by WWE. And now you're bringing in people who worked under Vince, who were taught this is the way to do pro wrestling in 2025. And they come in with these ideas, and the ideas that Vince used to have, and the ideas that they used to have under Vince that Vince liked. And they bring all of this baggage in. These producers telling you, well, this is what wrestling is in 2025. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, no, let some new people into the brain trust. You've got great people who, with great visions of pro wrestling, like Chris Hero, who you could listen to much more than no disrespect to Pat Buck, who is a sports entertainment lover, a guy who lives and breathes it. So you want less people? Well, that's, it's funny that he brings that up as if it's like this institutionalized problem, but it's a problem that Tony Khan created for himself. And all he has to do is get rid of some of the people Or at least have them do what they're supposed to be there, and that's just put matches together. Whatever the producers are for, that's what they do, right? That's what the producers do, right? They go talk to the wrestlers, see what they want to do, make sure that there's no overlap with what other matches are going to happen on the show. Everyone talks. Why do they have to be involved in creative? I don't know. There's no point. Yes, you should be talking directly to the wrestlers. Yes. That is the one thing that you keep hearing from wrestlers. Like a guy like Bobby Lashley was giving interviews and saying, one of the best things of working for AEW is that I feel like I'm being listened to. I talk to Tony and he gets my ideas. I feel like I'm listened to. You hear that often when it comes to talent who talk about how it is, what the differences are between working for WWE and AEW. So yes, they're like, lean into that. That's one of your competitive advantages for wrestlers to want to come work for you. You used to have so many more competitive advantages back in the day when AEW started. The first being Vince McMahon is not here. The second of all, you're going to work a much lighter schedule. Those were two huge bonuses. Those were two hugely competitive advantages on your side. Now, well, Vince is gone from WWE for real this time, and WWE has reduced their travel schedule. They don't work as many dates as they used to. They got rid of the house shows. But the creative environment is still not a collaborative environment in WWE. It's one guy. It's Paul the Fraud Levesque pretending that, he's this brilliant man with all these ideas. Everything filters through him and his little crew of boardroom creatives. Tony's there. He's on location. He's accessible. He's open. He talks with his talent. That's what you hear. Lean into that. There are wrestlers for whom it is a significant difference that can make a difference between going to WWE or staying with AEW. I don't know but no, that's it. I don't know what Tony is thinking when he talks about, well, there should be less people between me and the wrestlers. It's your fucking company, Tony. Set up the structure whichever way you want. You have to, and will some people lose their jobs? Well, okay. Will they need to be redirected to, or can you redirect them to do other stuff? Maybe. But it's your company. And if you think that the best way of doing this is to get pitches from wrestlers directly, instead of wrestlers pitching Sanjay and Chris Hero and Pat Buck and Glacier and fucking Dean Malenko and, what's her name? Beautiful People Girl. Can't remember her name right now. That's fine. If you prefer to be getting the pitches yourself, go for it. If you think that'll make things simpler, go for it. Or it's like, look, I think it's an actually very good way to do things where you have a wrestler come up, pitches you an idea, you like it. You're like, you know what? This is really good. You're going to work on this with RJ City. RJ, you're going to work with this wrestler here. Pitch him the idea, to explain to him the idea. I love it. Make it happen. That's how it should work. That's how it should work. This also brings me to my other point here. You'll notice I haven't talked about the MJF stuff, about MJF in general, because I talk about him more than enough on the review. You can go check that out. But mostly, for those of you who haven't listened to the review just yet, I'm making a pledge from myself, to myself, and to you as well, that I am going to stay away from the MJF discourse. Right? I'm going to focus on what I see. I'm going to tell you about what I like, what I don't like, what I think is working, what I think is not working. Despite, the virulent dislike, the obnoxiously virulent dislike of MJF, and the divisive and sometimes insane rhetoric that exists around him, right? Because like I said on the review, there are things that you can criticize Max legitimately for. Absolutely 100% legitimately criticize him for. There are other things that I just can't get behind and I don't understand. And things that may seem like criticisms, when you put a little brain power behind them, you're like, what you're advancing here makes no sense. Anyway, the tie-in that I want to make here, without getting into the discourse, is something that I want you listening right now, the A+ audience to this D-List podcast, I want you to keep one thing in mind. Whenever this man here that you're seeing on your screen with the lovely eyewear, okay? I wish we have very similar glasses, Tony and I. I think his are bigger and I like them. I would love to have glasses as big as Tony Khan's. I think they'd look good on me. This gentleman right here just told us, I am deciding what goes on my TV. I am the sole proprietor of what happens on my television. Okay? He said it himself. He said it in no such word, in such less way, he said it himself. I do the outline. It's my show. I decide what goes on. So whenever you sit around hearing people talk about how much Max is deciding about, how much MJF is deciding about anything happening let me say that again. When you sit around and you see discussions about how much MJF is deciding what's going on television in AEW, I want you to step away from that conversation, mute, block that person, because they are not worth your time. There is one person who decides, and I've been talking about this for months. I've been making this point for months, but now Tony made it explicit. So I'm going to continue hammering it home. There is one man in AEW that decides what goes on AEW television, and that is Tony Khan. It's no one else. Now, does that mean that am I completely rejecting the idea that MJF has Tony's ear? No. I am convinced that MJF has Tony's ear. Just like I am convinced that Tony really likes MJF's ideas, which is why a lot of MJF's ideas end up on the show, because the boss likes his ideas. You can take that for good or ill, that whatever it depends, however it goes. But I am not going to sit here and crucify MJF for doing pro wrestling stuff backstage to the booker, which is being friendly with him, getting his ear, pitching him ideas that the booker wants to hear so that he can get on television. There is nothing wrong with that. And that is something that has existed in professional wrestling for time immemorial and exists everywhere. The only reason why you don't hear about it, let's say, too much in WWE is because everyone shuts the fuck up about it. And in AEW, things seem to be a little more leaky. Because there's people who are a little more disgruntled. If you're hearing about MJF's influence on Tony Khan and the politicking that goes on with MJF, that's because there is someone backstage who is upset with Max and wants this information to leak. That's just as simple as that. Like, there's no big, I don't think there's a big shock here in what I just said. That's how wrestling leaks happen. Someone backstage being upset. How the fuck do you think we found out that Britt Baker was harassing, or that we heard, that was reported, right? I'm not saying this is necessarily fact, that Britt Baker was harassing Thunder Rosa to the point that Thunder Rosa had to go lock herself up in a bathroom stall to cry. Why do you think that was leaked? And it wasn't Britt who leaked that. Anyway, what I'm saying, this is very, very important. Tony Khan, in not so many words, there I got the idiom correct this time, in not so many words told us everything goes through him. He decides everything that goes on his show. So you see creative that you don't like, you see stuff that you're not enjoying, you got to stop blaming the wrestlers, because the wrestlers are going to do wrestler things. There's one guy who makes the final call as to what goes on his television or not, and it's this guy right here. He's a wrestling fan like you and me. Just so happens he has billions of dollars to back it up. Good for him. So that he can put on his shows. He has accumulated, inarguably, the greatest roster of professional wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling, at least in the United States. That's unquestionable, I don't think. He has all of this at his disposition. And he said it himself. It's my show. I decide. It's fantastic. So point your ire to the right place. That's all I'm saying. And from talking with some people, right? Bad decisions, let's say, things that are questionable in a pro wrestling feud, in a match, so on and so forth. It's seldom, and I'm not saying never, but it's seldom the fault of only one person. It's seldom a question of just like one person saying, this is how it's going to go. Because as you know, in a wrestling feud, in a wrestling match, there's typically at least one other person involved. Let's keep it simple and we'll say a one-on-one feud, right? The ideas that get thrown around are usually, typically speaking, not just one person getting everything they want. Typically, there is consensus. Typically, there is negotiations. There's some back and forth. There's some exchange. Sometimes it's just some good old-fashioned creative coming together and you're like, yeah, this is a great idea. And sometimes you're like, we should try this. And the other guy says, I'm not sure. No, I think this would work. Okay, well, let's give it a shot then, friend. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes these bad decisions are a collection of events and conversations that involve two people. I'd say even most of the time. It's rare that it's just like one person driving the situation. Now, again, I don't have any information, but let's just use this as an example. Do you think that the poor creative that surrounded the first leg of the Jon Moxley, Adam Copeland feud was entirely one-sided? Suffice to say, even though a lot of people, including myself, can say, hey, you know what? Hey, you know what? This entire angle, all of this shit, the way the match was structured, whatever, it really does feel like an Edge match, doesn't it? Right? But then there's another participant in this match as well. There's a John Moxley involved in this. So he had to okay some stuff. And on top of that, the boss had to give a stamp of approval on all of this as well. You see what I hope you understand what I'm trying to put down here. You're picking up what I'm putting down. And I'm pretty sure you do, because you guys and gals and non-binary pals are very smart. Just remember, moving forward, Tony Khan's in charge. He said it himself. He's in charge of creative. It's his show. It's his outlines. He decides what goes on his show. Just keep that in mind. Revolution Main Event 2025. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's la la. Well, okay, let's see what we'll do this little bit here. And then we'll see how much time we have left. We had a major update on Chris Jericho's AEW status and WWE future, according to this article on the Takedown on SI. Let's read the article. The Chris Jericho AEW era is seemingly over, and the wrestling legend appears to be WWE bound after all. I don't think anyone is really surprised. Rumors have swirled for months that Jericho was wrapping up his time with AEW, with speculation across the industry being that he would be returning to WWE after more than 7 years away from the company. The 55-year-old, holy smokes, hasn't been seen on AEW television since April, when it was indicated that he would be going away for a while. It was previously reported that WWE was lining up potential creative for one final Jericho run, and those now seem to be in full swing. Alex McCarthy of Wrestling Intel? What the fuck? I know who Alex McCarthy is. What is Wrestling Intel? I have never heard of this. This looks like a very generic SEO aggregator thing. All right. Seems extremely uninteresting. Wrestling Intel reports that not only is Jericho leaving AEW, but his WWE arrival may be sooner than previously thought possible. McCarthy noted on Saturday night that Jericho's AEW contract expires on December 31st at midnight. While fans saw the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia at the end of January as a logical debut date, McCarthy reports that WWE is considering debuting Jericho at the 1-year anniversary of Monday Night Raw on Netflix on January 5th. WWE is loading up that particular show from Brooklyn, with Braun Breaker challenging CM Punk for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The Takedown on SI can independently confirm that multiple higher-ups in AEW are under the impression that Jericho is done with the company and will be returning to WWE. So, kudos. I'm very thrilled for Paul Levesque, who is going to be able to use his probably his favorite booking strategy, his favorite booking idea, which is the surprise return. He hasn't had one of those in a while. So, so good for Paul, to be able to fall back on one of his staples. One of the true bedrock one of the true bedrock staples of Paul Levesque's booking tenure, and that is the surprise return. So he's salivating, he's rubbing his hands together, and he's going, hitting Booker of the Year 2026, here I come. That's what he's saying. He's so excited. But listen, I think, not only do I think, I know this is the best possible outcome for Chris Jericho. The AEW fans have completely and utterly turned on him a while back, and for multiple reasons, right? And again, like I can't tell you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you whether or not you should be upset or not, whether you're being reasonable or not in being upset at Chris Jericho. In regards to, well, in regards to his political leanings, his wife, and so on, and her political affiliations and whatnot. That's entirely up to you, and I'm not here to dictate how you should feel or not in that regard. That's, I'm going to try and keep it in regards to pro wrestling, but I think there's a lot of reasons that people started to fuel a hatred for Chris Jericho. I think that might be part of it. I think there are misguided visions of Chris Jericho as well that helped that, the infamous, Jericho vortex that I always believed was a myth. And I even had Joe Lanza on the podcast. What is it, like about 2 years ago at this point, where we broke down the myth of the Jericho vortex on top of that, to prove that, it didn't exist. And I mean, look, there will be people, and they will be out there. And I'm not talking, WWE fans. I'm talking AEW fans, and they will be out there who will find ways to minimize the contribution that Chris Jericho has made to the company. And they're all going to concede the same point. They're all going to concede the same invaluable point of Chris Jericho being there from the get-go, helped legitimize AEW. Him being the first world champion was important. It was essential. The guy was the most recognizable star that AEW had at the time. Yes. And that's the point that they will all concede. But Jericho worked with all sorts of talent throughout his like 5 years, 6 years that he was with AEW. He's worked incessantly with new guys, with talent that hadn't been necessarily discovered by a larger mainstream audience, to give them opportunities, to give them television time, to give them the opportunities to get themselves over, whether it was the Inner Circle, whether it was the Jericho Appreciation Society, whether it was his opponents, ranging from Ricky Starks to the Jungle Boy on top of that, to, like, he worked with so many people and lost so many matches in attempts to get these people over, because that's what the boss was asking him to do. And Chris was like, let's do this. And it wasn't always successful, but it wasn't always Chris's fault, which is what we discussed in the Jericho Vortex episode. It's like, Jericho can lay down for as many people as you want. If there's no follow-up to it, what's the point? Then that becomes out of Chris Jericho's hands. Then it falls into the booker's hands. The booker, who is in control of everything and does his outlines these days, right? So there are going to be, and in his work with Orange Cassidy, which is really not my favorite work, but nonetheless, like, these are all items that people that he helped legitimize. And outside of those first few months of AEW, he was never in the main event scene ever after. Working on the mid card, trying to help elevate guys, get guys over. That's what he was trying to do the whole way through. And that's what most people are not going to give him any credit for. They're going to say, I can predict this because I'm fucking good at this. That's why. That's why I'll be able to predict this. They're going to say, sure, yes, he was super important in the first 6 months, but then after that, it was all downhill. Then, Jericho Vortex, always him on TV, taking up too much TV time, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the arguments that are going to come up. There are people who are going to try their damnness to retcon Chris Jericho's contributions to AEW because they're going to be mad because he's going to be going over to WWE. Just like they did with Mariah May. The same people who were super excited about Mariah May and the work she was doing and the work with Tony Storm and, the heel turn and all of that. And people were saying, no, she's good. Actually, they all turned on her when she left. They said, no, you know what? She was never really good, which is true. It's the same thing here. And that's going to be the sad part. This is going to be the portion that's really going to upset me. And I would have liked AEW fans to have more. I would have liked AEW fans to have more clairvoyance in this type of situation than just like outright shitting on Jericho just because he's leaving. Of course, I might be. Look, you could be screaming at me right now saying, "Yeah, but Warren, you're getting mad at something that hasn't happened yet," and you're not wrong. But I'm very confident that it's going to happen because I'm very good at this shit. I'm very good at this. And there'll be some, I can say with confidence, Chris Jericho is an important part in the establishment of MJF as a top guy in the company. And there's a lot of people that are going to hold that against them, right? But when objectively speaking, Chris Jericho and MJF working together was crucial for MJF. It was huge. Now, am I sad that he's leaving? Not necessarily. I would probably, I often struggle with being sad when wrestlers leave companies to go work with other companies because I think it's good. It's good for the business. It's good for the wrestlers. It's good for everyone involved to have movement and things like that moving around. I don't have a fucking issue with Chris Jericho leaving, especially since he was in a situation where he really wasn't contributing all that much anymore. They tried their damnness to get Hook over and that didn't work, but by God, Jericho did whatever he could to get Hook over. Now we're going to try. Now Hangman's going to try and get him over, but look, that's another discussion for another time. You've got I'm not sad that he's leaving. And sometimes I wonder, it's like, what would make me sad? What kind of departure would make me sad from a wrestling outfit? What would make me sad? And I think, the only thing that I think would equate to sadness is if a company lets go someone who has clear potential and was never given a true shot to shine. I think that's the kind of situation that would make me sad. Because I'm thinking back when there were the Daniel Garcia rumors that he was maybe leaving AEW to go to WWE. I was like, man, that fucking sucks. That makes me sad. Because Dan Garcia will never get over in WWE. Not the way a lot of us want him to get over, and AEW still remains his best chance. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that I think would make me sad. A 55-year-old veteran leaving AEW to go close out his career and get his Hall of Fame ring at the WWE stuff. Sure, I have no problems with it. And Chris Jericho, I think, gave everything he could, and it's going to be a good change of It's going to be a good change of pace for him, for WWE, and for AEW. Then then it's like, okay, well, no more Chris Jericho. Then yes, it does. Then it's some TV time that frees up. Let's see what else. Let's see what they can do with it. We already see what they've been doing with it because he hasn't been on since April. But it's like I'm not sad that he's leaving. I think it's fine. I think it's more than time. In the AEW audience in general, I think have rejected him as well. He's no dummy. He sees how this is going. Like he's been around the block a couple of times. Please retire chants are what would have been happening to him in his last few months in the company. So he's like, okay, fine. I'm hitting the bricks. We're out of here, pal. It's fine. I have no problems with it. I think it's a good idea on top of it. I think everyone wins in this situation. Everyone wins. AEW wins because they got everything they could out of a recognizable name and face in pro wrestling. They got everything they could out of them. They really could. AEW fans win because a disliked member of the roster will no longer be present, right? WWE fans win because one of the most well-renowned superstars in professional wrestling history is heading back to his old stomping grounds. Paul Levesque wins because he gets a surprise return and he can come across as some kind of genius again. And Chris Jericho wins because he leaves an environment where he feels like he wasn't being used properly anymore, where he feels like he was on the downswing, and he ends up in WWE where he can refresh his career for what? 2 years, 3 years more? I don't know. 55, 55 years old. You're winding down, brother. Whatever it is, it's good news all around. It's good news all around. And it really is a situation where everyone wins. So I can't be upset. I can't be upset. I can't be sad. It's like perfect. And I encourage you all to espouse the same type of sentiment as the tribalism tries to tear us apart again. I legitimately encourage you to take this type of leveled approach. And don't get involved in these types of discussions where it's like, oh, finally. Be better. Can't wait for Ricky Starks to be put in a stable with Jericho. Now, what they'll do is they're going to do Y2J and J as in Jey. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try and save Jey Uso one more time. You know what's really sad? How he went out. He barely put over Bandito, and it was only because of some bullshit. Then he just left in a car on Dynamite, never to be seen again. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I see what you mean. Could he have had a better exit from AEW? Sure. I think he could have. I think that would have been actually really swell. Can't win them all. I don't know about all that Blake Monroe stuff, sir. She was a ship without a captain once Tony Storm was out of the picture. No, well, I mean, between you and me, I think Antox, we have the same feeling. I don't think she was all that great, personally. I think a lot of people overplayed how great she was while she was with the company. What I'm saying is once she left, then suddenly she became bad. I think that's the thing. I don't think she was great. But that's just me, right? Jericho had it good for at least 3 years. After he dropped the Ring of Honor title to Claudio at the end of 22, his cachet started to dip and didn't help. He had controversy at the end of that year. Yeah, and one of the things that Joe and I talked about on air was the main problem is that Jericho was losing too much. Jericho was not losing any matches. So what happened after a while? You know, Jericho winning against Chris Jericho no longer felt special because Chris Jericho was not beating anyone anymore. He was just losing all of his matches systematically. So that was part of the problem and part of the thing that feeded this idea of the Jericho vortex in later years, because people were like, well, it's not helping elevate anyone new because there was no rub to give, because the rub was all rubbed out, you know, essentially, because he was never winning anymore. And that's kind of what I'm fearing. I mentioned this in passing, but I'll bring it up here. I fear that situation with Jon Moxley as well. Now, maybe things are going to change now that he's Continental Champion, but I kind of feared that with Jon Moxley over the past couple of months, where I'm like, he's losing too much. Jon Moxley should not be losing this much. And I'm afraid that it's going to become another situation where, you know, you're able to beat Jon Moxley and it doesn't mean anything anymore because he loses to everyone. WWE serves more purpose in WWE now. I think even Jericho serves more purpose in WWE now. Yeah, I mean, because it's going to be fresh. It's going to be something new for everyone involved. So, of course, it's going to be new. Everyone wins more like humanity loses. No, everyone wins. In this situation, there are no losers. I sincerely believe that. Deeply believe that. You see, Carlos, you've been around here for so long. I got you. We're simpatico now. I know exactly what you mean. Even when you misspell, I got you, pal. We're an old fucking couple now. Oh, where's the music? Where's the music thing? Why can't I find the music? Oh, here it is. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. A little background music going here. Yeah, no more stories for now. No more stories for now. We got to keep some stuff for Thursday, which I fully suspect to be a very I fully suspect that from here to Thursday it's going to be a very slow couple of days for news because it's holidays and no one is leaking anything on the 31st or on the 1st. So I'm fully expecting, this is what I'm expecting on Thursday. I'm expecting, maybe some goofy shit that I would just want to point out, something kind of like the script, the Johnny B. Bad script. And then, the Mariah May thing, and then we'll play Sporkle. I think that's probably what we're going to do. I got to save some material for myself. Because I don't think the world of professional wrestling is going to be very giving over the next 2 days. So there you go. I'll be very giving. I'll be here. I will be here Thursday for the live stream. There will be the Dynamite review will not be on Thursday. Probably get it done on Friday. But definitely not happening on Thursday. MrWarrenHayes show on Wednesday though. That'll be there, which will include the AEW World's End review. But if you want to get the World's End review right now, you have to become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. You hit the join button, you hop in, and then you have access to it right fucking now. You don't have to wait like the rest of the plebeians. You can get in on this really, really early. So consider that. That's always fun. If not, well, look, no problem. It'll be available on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show as well. There will be a recording as well for my review of Stardom Dream Queendom that I watched today. I'll likely record it tomorrow. That would be my guess. Probably tomorrow. And that'll be exciting. Don't you like excitement? I'd assume you like excitement. I love excitement. So that's why I'm going to switch it all off for the night now, because I'm done being excited. So there you go. Look, hey, we're gonna see next time we see each other. It'll be the new year. It'll be a brand new year. I'm excited. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to come stream on the new year with all of you. But oh, hey, you know what we're gonna do? Do you know what we're going to do? Come to think of it, on Thursday, we're going to preview Wrestle Kingdom. How about that? Just dawned on me. We're going to preview Wrestle Kingdom 20. And there's a lot to fucking talk about, trust me. I got a lot on my mind. So don't miss it. Be here, January 1st, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Be a good time. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me. Hope you all have a great rest of your year. So you know what? Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me then. You have till the end of the year to do it. I'll see you next time.